Today, the Fed announced a 25 basis point cut. This means that since September, the Fed has dropped rates by 1 full percent. But one of the key details that caused a negative reaction in markets was that the Fed sees just 2 cuts in the year 2025. And right after the Fed released the FOMC statement today, the stock market saw a quick reaction down. The S&P, go to the hourly chart, and the S&P dropped about 3% within just 3 hours. Bitcoin also saw a reaction down. Bitcoin went down about 4.5% in about 2 hours. And actually, as I'm recording this video, we have a test of 100,000. And what I have drawn on the chart here was from my tweet just yesterday. It was from this tweet where I said that if Bitcoin retested 100,000 as a new support on the daily time scale, it would mark one of the greatest milestones in Bitcoin's price history. 100K Bitcoin was the moon just 1 week ago. Today, it's over, followed by this tweet, why is it going down? And really, we're just pretty much in a straight line up on the larger timescales. Bitcoin is still going parabolic despite whatever volatility there may be above 100K. In the last video on this channel, which I posted 2 days ago, December 16th, we discussed this scenario exactly. We talked about Bitcoin pulling back to 100 and that the weekly could show a large wick below the candle body. Is this the exact bottom? We're going to go right back up from here, or maybe we test down into the high 90s, 98K, the trend line, and then look to bounce from here. Either way, I mean, this is still very constructive bullish price action. This is a significantly higher low for Bitcoin. We had an uptrend, pretty steady uptrend right here, and Bitcoin possibly creating higher lows, at an exponential rate, and it could sort of continuing the parabolic nature of the large scale pattern. Guys, look at this large scale pattern for Bitcoin. I mean, we are well within the parabola. Bitcoin is elevated into the clouds right now. We're above 100,000, 70,000 at the beginning of last month. It's been 1.5 months and we've gone from 70 to 108. That's a pretty nice move. And Bitcoin right here, seeing a little bit of volatility. This is actually nothing that we haven't seen before. If you're looking at these weekly candles and these wicks within the week from high to low, that's 8.4% from high to low. That's minus 11.5% from high to low. That's minus 10.35% from this high to the current low, minus 7.6. And like I was saying in the last video, you see these wicks, the upward sloping lows on these wicks. This is the range of volatility that would be considered acceptable in terms of my analysis. If Bitcoin wicked back into this uptrend line and then closed the weekly higher again, that's perfectly fine, signaling increasing demand, right? Even if we wick down to, what is that? 96, even if that happened, guys, just like the other weeklies, you bounce off the low and close the weekly up. We don't have to go to 96. If Bitcoin can hold 100K, I mean, that's pretty much the most bullish resistance to support flip in Bitcoin history, holding 100K. I mean, I don't know what more you want from Bitcoin, but I think I know why people are upset, guys. And that is, of course, the altcoins, because the altcoins are not really doing all too much at the moment. Probably dumping with Bitcoin right now. So of course the altcoins are having a slight negative reaction here. Although if you look at the total 3, the altcoin market cap, this is the 4-hour chart, what we can see is that it is in an uptrend. The total 3 altcoins at large, well, it's uptrending, and we do have a consolidation, lower highs. So higher lows, lower highs, that is a consolidation within an uptrend. You have a major impulse up, consolidate. Well, the textbook would suggest that you should take your flagpole from low to high and then place that on the breakout zone. The steepest part of your flagpole, put it on the breakout zone. Well, I mean, of course, this is kind of crazy, right? I don't think anyone would, right now at least, with this dip today, everyone will think that this is crazy, right? It's crazy to be like, oh, are you really that bullish, Kevin? You're a moon boy. I mean, I don't even know, whatever people say. But if you look at that line that I just drew on a long-term chart, well, it doesn't look so crazy anymore. It just looks like another multi-week run, something that really is reminiscent of previous cycles. A move like that, well, that's pretty much, the previous all-time high. If you go to the past cycle, after we broke the all-time high, yeah, you had a run like that. You had a major pump in the altcoins right after this zone, right as you broke the all-time high, major move. So that textbook extrapolation of the flagpole is actually more realistic than you might think. You know, this is kind of just what we do in all previous cycles at this point in the cycle after breaking the all-time high. A little bit of chop around the all-time high and then continuation up. I mean, that first target is about 1.6 trillion. The next major multi-week, multi-month target is going to be about 1.6 trillion. But I just want to show you guys that right now, the total 3 is just below the all-time high, just like it was going into, you know, the new year in the last cycle. Bitcoin's going up for a month. The total 3 is coming up to the high. It's the same type of situation. It's not going to be exactly the same. I don't think it'll be exactly the same, but ultimately the timing is really the same. If you pull up my Bitcoin halving cycle profit indicator, what it shows you is that the total 3 has its all-time high breakout right after the 40th week. After the 40th week post-halving. We're still ahead of the 40th week. At the 40th week, you know, the total altcoin market cap goes up, you know, 150% or more after the 40th week. Okay, so we're not even at the 40th week yet. So in terms of cycle timing, we are actually still quite early. So whatever volatility that we see in the altcoins before the 40th week doesn't really concern me. I don't really care what happens here in the short term. What happens after the 40th week is what I'm really curious about, focused on, because that's where the moves usually get really, really bullish after that 40th week. And the 40th week is coming in right around mid or end of January. So middle of end of January is when I expect things to get really bullish. There could be, you know, a bounce up and then some volatility for Trump's inauguration and then continuation. So in terms of cycle timing, we are kind of doing what we're supposed to be doing when we're supposed to be doing it. And the altcoins, the total 3, you know, in theory, it's not very far away from the all-time high here, guys. It's just, if we get this consolidation breakout, if we get a higher low on the total 3, remember that there's a big flagpole for a target of 1.6 trillion. So, if, you know, I think people just have bear market PTSD and there's an overreaction for, you know, every single swing. So keep that in mind when you're looking at social media. There's a lot of people that have been scarred by past cycles and they can't handle the swings anymore. They become too sensitive to red candles and they get really panicky on every dip. What I see today is this. People staring at the chart and saying, why is it going down? But really everything is just slowly going up with dips to higher lows. That's what I see. And if that changes, I will make a video about it and we will discuss it. But as of right now, nothing has changed in my analysis. By the way, Kraken has released the Inc. mainnet. This marks the start of Kraken's journey into DeFi. And if you haven't signed up for Kraken, be sure to do so using that link below. Sign up today. And be sure to join Patreon. We have limited slots. Every weekday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, we do a live market analysis. We talk about charts, trends, altcoins, trades, setups. Ultimately, I share my analysis and then we talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. You can ask me questions directly in the morning voice chats. To get into the Discord, you must be a Patreon member. The morning voice chats happen in Discord, and you have to be a Patreon member to join the Discord. Once you're in Patreon, you go to the settings and you link your Discord to Patreon on the apps tab, and then you'll be loaded into the Discord. Be sure to join today, guys. Limited slots. I'll see you all in the next video.